know you got me on Facebook, brother. I could hear myself, but can anyone else hear me?
Make sure you don't take a picture on Instagram when you actually go live.
Hey,
The question
Steve.
is, does anyone really want to hear him?
Yeah,
Not
you're
whether
talking,
he-
but are you really saying anything, Chase?
I got you.
Alrighty. Hear myself. Well, everyone knows what day it is. It is the day we've all been waiting for. What day is it, Justin?
You forgot already. Okay, it's Tech Tuesday. Just so you guys know, we got Steve and Matt over behind you.
What's going on, guys?
Always we have Chase. Yeah, there's Chase. But after the last couple of weeks, we were trying to make things a little bit more fun, and maybe we got too much fun. So we had a lot of people ask if we could get back to Tech Tuesday and actually be tech about it, and maybe get back on the chalkboard. So,
I thought it was Wednesday. Thank God I didn't say anything.
yeah, hump day, I guess, for you. But so we're gonna try and get back a little bit more technical and give you some more sketches on the drawing board. Today's Tech Tuesday is all about shock mounting when it comes to chassis. Angles, proper, maybe not so good. Also, maybe why some of the UTV manufacturers do what they do, as opposed to maybe doing what would be best. They've always got things that they have to work around, so we'll go over all those as well.
Lamelli 88 has been waiting all week for this, Justin. Tech
Who is it,
Tuesday.
Lamelli or Mamelli?
Lamelli
Okay,
88.
so it's not Mike Mamelli, another racer.
No,
either
no.
way.
This is Lamelli. L-O-M-E-L-I.
All right, so let's go into shock angles and how you should mount shocks, especially if you're going to do it on a car that you're designing from scratch. But before that, Steve.
I want to give a shout out. Crash Johnny said, I'm super stoked for my appointment in October. We're super stoked to get your stuff, man.
Well, thank you, Crash Johnny. That's very nice of you. And if anybody else wants to talk to Steve, make sure you call his name out on your comments and he will answer your stuff. I figured a lot of you are going to ask you where he gets his moves from last Thursday. So he might be busy answering all that. All right, back to shocks. So what I've done is kind of given you a basic sketch. We've got an upper arm, lower arm, tire, spindle, and a fake shock. If you want to get a little bit more technical with this, then we've got shock and it's got spring on it. I'll stop with that. Now, looking at the front of the car like we are, or looking at this drawing as if you were standing in front of the car, what we're kind of going to be mostly concerned about with today is where you're going to mount the shock as far as angles are concerned, and also where on the arm you're going to mount these and how that affects the way the thing works. In general, and I mean in general here, so none of you guys with short course or with road racing experience need not chime in. This is specifically to off-road racing, especially with something that has a ton of droop, all right? Is perfect shock mounting is 90-degree angle to the lower arm pivot plane, fully compressed. What is that? All right, let's just say that this lower arm, actually I'm gonna draw another one. No preparation here, sorry.
Good old
Spindle,
Justin Ross here.
Tire, and Bob Ross? I'll take
yeah.
Bob Ross. I like a good...
Justin, while you're drawing a picture, I got somebody, Growbot613, X3 XDS front sway bar, still coming, question mark? Are we going to be making an X3 DS front bar?
So the answer to that is, yeah, we already make it. The current bar for an RS does fit. What doesn't clear is the hardware and link against the inside of the coil spring on that. We have a custom set of links for that system that are in the, I should say, they're developed, but we had custom rod ends made just for that, and those are coming in the next 2 weeks. When they come in, then we will actually have a marketable front bar, and you can buy them and bolt them on real easy.
I got really excited.
Yeah, Matt's over there. He's got a chub for his DS. All right, so here you go. Here's the same front suspension design, but it's fully compressed. All the way there, maybe there's the ground right here, and you only have a little bit of ground clearance because it almost is bottomed out. This angle right here should be 90 degrees. Fully compressed. I'll go over why that is the case. The reason is, if you have a shock that's set up at 90 degrees fully compressed, that gives you the most progressive ratio between the tire and the shock. That's also called motion ratio. I am not going to go into exactly how motion ratio is computed. You guys can Google it. It's complicated, but I'm going to give you the simple version. If, say, for instance, this tire moves up 2 inches and that moves the shock up 1 inch, that is a ratio between the tire and the shock movement, which is a motion ratio. There is a formula for that and there's a number for it. Like I said, look it up. I'm going to give you some simple versions as we go through. If the shock is at 90 degrees fully bumped, that means that at this point, this is a 1-to-1 ratio between the tire and shock shaft movement. That means that when the tire moves an inch, the shock shaft moves an inch. That means that the shock has the most potential resistance against tire movement, which means that the shock naturally is the stiffest it can get in that scenario. When you get to ride height, this ratio turns into a 1 to 1.5 to 1. That means 1 inch of shock shaft movement is actually 1.5 inches of tire movement. So the tire moves more for the same inch of shock travel at ride height, as opposed to 1 to 1 at fully compressed. I'm not going to draw it because I'm running out of room, but if this system was fully drooped out, then you're going to find that it is a 1 to 2 ratio, meaning 1 inch of shock shaft movement for 2 inches of tire movement. So follow me through this process. If the tire is fully hanging and you're in the air, which would be jumping, or if the tire is in the bottom of a whoop before it comes back up, and you have a 1 to 2 ratio between shock shaft and tire, that means that the tire is going to move 2 inches for 1 inch of shaft movement. That means that it's going to be very soft and plush. The shock shaft's not moving as much as the tire. You're going to feel that in your butt cheek as a really smooth, plush ride. You get up to ride height, that goes to 1.5 to 1. So the system's getting progressively stiffer just naturally through the geometry of the setup. And at fully compressed, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which means now it's as stiff as the shock can be. And just through the geometry of how you've mounted the shock, that is the most progressive system. Now we try to make shocks progressive internally with valving, piston flow, shaft changes, and adjusters. And we can do, especially with like an internal bypass, that's really our goal, is to make every shock system super plush through the rough stuff and super stiff when you need it in the compressed or bottomed out G-out jump landing stuff. And to make that progression internally is very hard to do. To do it through geometry is actually really, really easy to do if you're able to design the car from scratch. So if a UTV had a shock at a 90-degree mounting position fully compressed, then that UTV would be so progressive, so plush in the little stuff, in the rough stuff, and so stiff in the big stuff. Our job for the internals isn't as hard. We can actually do standard valving. We don't have to do some tricky valving to make it work. We don't have to change pistons to change flows and bypass ports and things like that to try and give you that progression. It's naturally that way. Well, why aren't they that way on all UTVs from the start? Well, it's because they're trying to give you some clearance over the hood. When UTVs are designed, they're looking at everyone being able to drive the car. So that means that, you know, your wife might drive it, your kids might drive it, you might drive it, and you might be between 5'5" and 6'5" tall. When you're sitting in the car, people want to be able to see right over the hood and not have a hood up in their vision. You can't see the rocks and things you're going to drive off of. So UTV manufacturers are dropping the hoods lower so you can see for vision reasons. And if the shock was mounted correctly, it's going to get up inside the hood. I'll show you this. With this 90-degree system, I kind of drew a basic hood. In reality, all the shocks and UTVs are not mounted to the lower arm. They're mounted to the upper arms. There's a few reasons for that, but you're going to see with the new Polaris R, right? Pro R. The Pro R is mounted to the lower arm. The Wildcat XX is mounted to the lower arm. Robbie Gordon's new Speed UTV is mounted to the lower arm. And almost every single serious class off-road race truck or race car is mounted to the lower arm. The reason they do that, a couple. I mean, lower arm is what's going to hit rocks. Lower arm has a shock on it. It needs to be strong enough for the shock. They can do two birds with one stone. Throw the lower arm that's strong enough for rocks and for the shock. Save weight on an upper. But also, it allows you, when you mount it to the lower arm, to keep that shock mount below the hood. So you have a good hood attack angle, you have excellent vision. When you mount a shock to the upper arm, imagine doing exactly the same thing that we're doing right here. Let's go here. This shock is this long, sticking up in your face. Now you got a shock sticking 6 or 8 inches above the hood and right in your face. Now Can-Am has a shock mount like an inch or 2 above the hood. In order to do that, what they did was they leaned it over. There's a shock mount for a Can-Am. And when you lean it over, now you're not at 90 degrees when that is a compressed system, which means the progressive rate that we're looking for to make a car ride right is not there, and it's a lot harder for somebody like us to make it progressive when geometrically it's not. Did you guys have questions before I jam off?
Yeah, Joe Gillette wants to know, are the Wildcat XX rear upper shock mounts a weak point?
Are they what?
A weak point.
We haven't broken ours. I'm not sure if you guys find a bunch of broken ones on forums or not, but we haven't broken ours, and we're kind of an asshole to our car.
Pretty rough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all the miles on our Wildcats have either been in the dunes with any number of our guys driving it or a 100% Baja. So there's not really much more brutal than Baja, including San Felipe. So we put our car through a lot, and we haven't broken those tabs. Have you got anything?
I got a couple questions. A real quick one though. Eric_522, Glamis update. Is there any Glamis updates?
Yeah, I think we can probably give you one. Actually, we're having a meeting about that this morning. Glamis will be going on from the respect of Vendors Row, which means we will be there doing work, and we are going to be taking our appointments. We currently have about 20 people who have signed up waiting for us to give dates to put them on the schedule, so we're going to go through those 20 people first. But I don't have the calendar in front of me, Steve, but on the Halloween weekend, we will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So take a look at your calendar, you get your dates. And also the guys will be taking appointments here probably tomorrow.
I got a couple more questions, but one of them is from Michael J. Gamboa. What's the best place to live in Phoenix for UTV access from your house?
Oh, so I would probably say Anthem, Lake Pleasant, 99th Avenue, and Carefree Highway.
Desert Hills.
Desert Hills is excellent.
New River, Cave Creek.
And Matt, what do you call the area you just moved into? There's a lot of good stuff there too.
No idea what it's called.
It's not.
It's out
Fountain Hills, right?
No, it's not Fountain Hills.
No, so I'm in Surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you've got Vistancia.
I'm next to
Vistancia is
that.
another one. That's right. All of those are bordering the northern end of town, and you can run. There's off-road trails right out of your house from those areas that go all the way to Flagstaff. So you got plenty. Anything else?
Hayden Thomas is in the room. I just wanted to give him a little what's up.
Hey Hayden, we are actually going to do an RS1 build episode on Thursday with George Hamill, who is going to be racing the UTV championships with a stock RS1 that's got some modifications to it, just like you've done with your race RS1. He's going to enter UTV championships and get back into racing, kind of back on the horse after he had his huge accident 2 years ago.
Rad.
That's Thursday. So tune in for that. If you guys want to know how to turn an RS1 or really any UTV into a race car, we're going to go over that, and you can talk to George Hamill too. Mitch?
I'm just saying that. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Late, but I'm showing up.
Yeah.
We're here.
Well, the truth is we're actually in Mitch's area, and he can't work right now because we're taking up the spot. So let's go over how and why, which I have to clean this to make it work. Why do the UTV manufacturers do an upper arm mount? Well, back to hood clearance. I'll show you simply. If you mount everything to the upper arm, or at least why they mount everything to the upper arm, there's two major reasons why UTV manufacturers mount the shock to the upper arm. One, you've got an axle that's always in the way if you mount it to a lower arm. Requires some custom lower loops, requires clearance with the upper arm. That means the upper arm has to be wide enough to fit a shock down the middle, and sometimes packaging doesn't allow the manufacturer to build an upper arm mount that'll fit. Obviously axle on the bottom. If you look at the new Pro R, you're going to find that the lower loop on that shock is actually a two-sided loop. So if you look here, Chase, see this lower loop? standardized, what you guys expect to see on the bottom of shocks. On a Pro R, this is actually going to become a wishbone. It's going to be two-sided, and there's going to be an axle right down the middle of that lower loop. So that's how they got around the axle clearance issue, by mounting it to the lower arm. It's expensive, and you start adding those things up, and they don't want to do it. That's another reason why it's on the upper arm. But let's say upper arm, I'm going to go droop, lower, spindle, and shock mount. If the hood, on my last drawing, this is where I had the hood. If you mount this fully compressed, shock mount. If you mounted a shock to the upper arm at 90 degrees, that's where it's going to mount. Huge up in your face.
In your face.
Above the hood. But if you start doing like, say, what Can-Am did on an X3, and you mount it about 3 inches above the hood, they're doing that just so you can see over it. The negative to that, I'm going to give you the same ratio on this system at droop. There's the change between fully drooped, shock angles these ways. Now, this is a progressive system. It progresses between about a 1 to 1.2 to 1 tire to shock, compared to it comes up to actually I'm gonna take that back. This goes from about a 1 to 2.5 to 1 ratio up to compressed to about a 1.20 ratio. So it is a rising rate. It is getting progressively stiffer, but it doesn't get progressively stiffer very fast. And that's because of the angle that these are mounted at. And that makes it harder for us to make the system very progressive, giving you plush when you need it and stiff when you need it. If it was mounted correctly, then you would have a better ratio, you'd have a better ride, but you couldn't see over it. So what's the fix? In my opinion, the fix is to mount a shock to the lower arm, then you don't have hood clearance issues. You could also have a 90 degree at full bump with shock. But according to, actually I'm gonna go one more thing, besides axle clearance, besides upper arm clearance, Robbie told me the other day he has a patent on a lower arm mount for a shock. I'm not sure if Polaris got that notification when they built the R, but that also could be something that kept the manufacturers from doing it as well. I don't know. Maybe you contact Robbie and ask him if he's going to pursue that with Polaris.
Come on, Robbie, why you gotta stop all the fun stuff?
He wants to keep the fun to himself, which I don't blame him. Why not? I would if I was him. So, you guys got any questions?
Grassed YJ, Grass DJ. Can I put a 3.0 XRS 72-inch rear shock on my DS 64 Max to replace the 2.5-inch shock?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, you can
Yeah,
if you got a ton of fabrication and you've got a full fab shop and the knowledge. You're not going to be able to put that on the car without a ton of all the things I mentioned. It will not just bolt on.
Nope.
And it is very expensive to convert everything. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
So I would say pretty much for the majority of people,
No.
99% of the people, no. But if you're a fab shop, go for it.
And then one question, Dennis.Lopez.737448801. Thoughts on iBox springs and Walker Evans shocks, Razor 1000, looking for a better performance in the desert.
I missed the whole first part where you said Fox.
No, thoughts on iBox springs with Walker Evans shocks.
Oh, okay. Well, here you go. It's pretty simple. Yeah, iBox are going to work better than what you have on their stock, especially on the Walkers. Are they the best thing? I'm not going to talk any smack about iBox. They make great product. We offer spring kits as well. iBox has 3 spring kits, soft, medium, and hard. We have 30 spring kits for that car, specifically tailored to what you have on the car. If you go with an iBox, it's going to work better than stock. If you go with us, you have more options to tailor it specifically to you. hopefully that fits your driving style a lot better than more of a generic system. So yes, doing that is good, but you do have more options, and I would suggest calling us to get those options in place.
What's the number to call us, Justin?
623-217-4959 if you want to get a badass spring kit that's tailored to what you're doing.
Or I think you can visit the website shocktherapist.com.
Oh, hey, good one. I like the wink. It's pretty sexy. It got Chase all excited. So another thing, if you, Matt, if you don't have something right away.
I do. Aaron Elson wants to know, his 2012 Razor 900 has a lift and the shocks are mounted more vertically. Should he remove the lift to get them mounted back at more of an angle?
So with what I've been telling you about having the shock mounted in the right place, typically you would expect that if you move the shock out wider like that, like a lift would do, that it's going to ride better because of the progression. The truth is that it doesn't, and the reason is that you have limitations. You've got basically an axle limit on CV angle. You can't droop it any farther no matter where you mount the shock. You can't compress it any farther because the bottom of the car is going to hit the ground. You still have the same amount of travel no matter what. Between having a lifted system and a non or factory system, we would much rather tune the factory system. It will work better. We can make it ride better than one with a bracketed lift kit. We typically here are taking lift kits off immediately, and we're going to set the car up perfectly for the factory mount with the right spring kit, and also even have the car riding higher than most of the lift kits that we see coming in here. So lift kits are, in our opinion, not the best way to do it, and you can certainly do a better job with spring kit and internals, that's for sure. What else you got, Matt?
Kevin Calloway just bought a 2020 Velocity S. Wants to know if our spring kit offers a significant improvement over stock springs, or is the springs already better than most standard turbo springs?
So both are true. Both things you just said are true. The factory spring on that car is better than previous turbos, but also our spring kit is night and day better than the factory kit. So I would highly suggest you do spring kit from us on that car. It's a night and day difference. You're going to love it. You can get advice from many different people on that we've done. We've probably done well over 1,000 kits on that car, and we have happy customers at all times. So I would suggest you do it. What, Chase?
Nothing, Justin.
No, come on. I didn't see your hand signal. Yeah.
No.
Hey, just so you guys know, we had a discussion with Chase about breaking off what we're doing and talking about with his premature people that are signing on. Communism people. Yeah, so now we have new hand signals. So if Chase has somebody he's trying to get on to sign on, he's got this over here, he's waving like a cute girl in school. Just doing the right? No shocker. So he's over here doing this, and he's getting excited that maybe somebody is signed on, but he's not allowed to break into what we're doing until they're actually on, which means he gets to raise his hand. So right now he's dying to raise his hand.
I have one more question before we go into this. I know we want to get forward. Yeah. Garrison Ellis said, Turbo S Velocity, is it worth the cost of saving over the Dynamics?
No. Buy Dynamics.
But yeah, I'd go with
Turbo
Dynamics.
S Velocity, you need to go ahead and buy Dynamics. It's night and day. It's worth the $5,000. Do it. Done.
Agreed.
Handled. No explanation. Just do it. All right. Looking at my little notes over here, because I didn't know if I would forget some stuff. We've gone over shock angle. We've gone over a motion ratio. You guys can look up the technical term, but I kind of gave it to you with the 1-to-1 and 1-to-2.
We didn't go over my emotion ratio.
Your emotions are constantly out of control, and there's no way to mathematically quantify those, Chase. Length. I did not go over length. I'm about to do that. Ratio we did, and we're going to do length and spring right now, okay?
Length doesn't matter. Well, at least that's what my missus keeps telling me.
Yeah, she's lying to you, Chase.
Oh, come on, Justin.
All right.
Give me something.
All right, so shock mounting, like where on the arm should we be mounting a shock? If the arm is about this long, and this is your 50% point, typically a shock should be mounted somewhere between 60 and 80% of arm length. That right there is an average of where things should be when it comes to off-road racing. Now in short course, completely different, and road racing, completely different. So don't bring up any of that stuff. Just talking about off-road where you need a lot of droop. Now anywhere in here, the closer to the 50% point that you mount the shock, the more leverage is going to be on that, and you're going to need more spring. So this shock mounted at the 50% point requires way more spring. The negative to that is it's a lot of weight. you're going to have a 50-pound set of springs on this car or on the front of this car versus if you mounted that shock out here at the 80% point, you're going to have a whole lot less spring, to the point where your 50-pound package could actually be more like 25 pounds of spring. So there's less leverage on the system when you've got a shock mounted closer to the outer joint or the tire, which requires less spring. It requires less valving, both in compression and in rebound. So you end up with less leverage on the shock, which can be easily controlled, or more controlled, I should say. Chase is still giggling. He thinks he's going to get somebody, he's not. Here's the negatives. If this system was the same travel, let's just say it's 20 inches vertically and droop either way. Again, he's getting excited with the 20 inches in me. So if the travel is the same and just the only difference is mounting the shock in different positions, then this shock might be a 14-inch travel shock and this one might be a 10.
Chase is not, Chase, hand out. Hand out, let me show you, hand out.
He's dying to have somebody on. He's
okay, hands out.
Yeah.
Real quick, Vincent997, thank you for doing all the videos. Keep up the great work, Justin.
Thanks, Vincent. No problem.
Phillips Racing, we got a live one. What's going on,
have somebody,
brother?
good job.
Wow.
He's got a pretty sweet setup, too. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, sweet garage. Nice car.
Can you hear us?
You're breaking up, buddy.
Hey, just reaching out to see what you guys think about us that already have, our race cars built, and if you think that they're going to be able to allow those lower arms to be mounted on our cars here, so that we don't have to build entirely new cars in order to, get the new advantage of the lower shock mounts.
Answer is yes, and currently, right this second, you can do that, and here's why. Because having studied the rule book, you only have to keep the factory control arm pivot points on the chassis. You do not have to keep the factory pivot or mounting points for the shock. You also don't have to keep the factory pivot points on the spindle, so if you wanted to make your own spindle, you could. So what I'm saying is, currently, right this second, you could mount the shock to the lower arm without any rule infractions whatsoever. You're just going to have to fabricate your own upper mounts, and also make sure you don't overextend or over-angle the CV. But if you look at Scanlon's previous couple of cars he's had racing, you're going to find that those are mounted to the lower arm, and that overall ratio is better. So if you've got the ability, I would do it now. I wouldn't even wait for them to build stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to meeting up with you on Tuesday for UTV World Championships and getting some shock tuning in the new car.
Right on, man. Well, I think I've got a spot picked out. A couple of buddies that live up there have some really killer areas. Also, we're going to have helicopter there all week, so we're going to have air video for all the testing that we're doing with you guys, and you can use it in your videos and anything else you need.
Sick. Awesome. Yeah, you need to get hooked up with Chase so we make sure we get footage from the race.
Good luck.
Not sure if that's ever going to happen.
Don't worry, I'll get you to my agent. Hey, Matt.
Matt, you're Chase's agent?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Is that a demotion?
I said, wow.
Therapist. Babysitter.
Hey man, thanks for signing in. We'll get you shirts when we're out there testing, and hopefully you guys got the car prepped perfect, and you can. Perfect, man. Thank you.
Hell yeah, dude. Looks great, man. I love the shop.
Awesome, yeah. We got another ENA build going down as we speak. His first race will be the short course race for UTV World Championships also.
I love that he's sleeveless, man. He's got the right to bear arms, brother. Second Amendment.
What's that?
I said, I love that you're sleeveless, man. The right to bear arms, brother.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bring us to the gun show.
Yeah, show us the guns, man.
Oh, no, I wish I had some guns, bro.
There you go.
Right on, thanks for signing in. We're going to finish doing shock stuff. We'll see you out there testing.
You got a whole arsenal of weapons in that garage, brother. Hey, send us your shirt size, and we'll make sure to send you a whole bunch more in the box, man. Thanks for repping us so hard.
We just got the door spring kit. Yeah, for the pre-runner.
Right on, man. Hey, you're breaking up.
And we just lost him.
Oh, that's too bad.
We just lost you, man. I love your setup. It looks like you got a whole bunch of projects going on.
All right, so back to shock length. If you're going to mount a shock in the middle of the arm, you can use a shorter shock. That also means that the shock isn't traveling nearly as much throughout 20 inches of travel, and that means you have a little bit less control over the system. You start mounting the shock a little farther out the arm, you end up with a longer shock throughout 20 inches, which is a lot more controllable from a valving and spring standpoint, and it's a lighter package. The negative is, to run this, a 14-inch long travel shock is going to be considerably longer than any of the other setups. So it's not going to mount here, it's going to mount up here. And by the time you start dealing with hoods, that system might be a little bit too high. So you actually have to do a lot of forethought and planning when you're laying out your system on that. Or make sure that it's mounted to the lower arm no matter what, and get yourself some extra clearance that doesn't drop the shock straight out the hood in front of your face. But a lot of race car guys don't care about that. So
I was gonna say, I really don't mind big things in front of my face when
that's
I'm
a
driving,
guaranteed.
you know?
I've seen pictures.
He's seen one up close for sure.
You know what, Chase? You tee him up like softball.
I was saying, you just throw softballs all day,
It
dude.
doesn't bother me.
Just slow pitch.
Hey, what do you got?
So Suns it's FRK, Suns Fork. I had the ride improvement system installed. It's sprung to have my wife and kids in it. Anything I can do to soften it up while I'm riding alone. What kind of car do you have? That would be the next question.
Yeah, so what car do you have? And
what type
I would
of
also
adjustments?
say, hey man, what is the ride height when it's just you in the car? Because if it's sitting high, expecting them to be in the car, and you're not going to have them in there for a couple of trips, take the time to lower the car back down to the ride heights that we suggest, and that would make a much more plush ride. But you're going to ride too soft and maybe bottom out a little bit if you start putting people in it and you set it up good for yourself.
I got a couple life-size dolls that I keep spare in my garage. I just throw into the UTV that I don't have that compensates for the weight.
How many orifices do they have?
I can't put it out on one hand right now because I have my hands full.
That's what I thought. I thought there was that kind of a doll for sure.
I got a question from Alex Coolitz. He wants to know, what motion range change do you want from droop to bump?
We would like to see the ratio from tire to shock be less. So basically you would go from a 2-to-1 system, 2 inches of tire travel, 1 inch of shock travel, to a 1-to-1 system at the top. No matter what you're doing, you always want it 1-to-1 at fully compressed. That's gonna be the best setup no matter what.
We got Suns Fark here, sacks of concrete, great idea, brother. We actually have these little sandbags that I use for all of my studio stuff, and the guys love to use them for the cars too. I'll show you right now. Here we go.
He's got the. Oh, okay. Let me get you.
Boom.
He's got the Talon 4-seater.
So,
Don't move, Justin.
oh, you want to go and look at that, Steve, or what?
No, I'm grabbing something. You're good.
Oh, okay.
Missed your toe there,
I
Justin.
missed. So we've got a whole bunch of sandbags like these that Chase is excited to show off his little video stuff. But we have bigger versions like this that we throw inside the car to try and duplicate our driver and passenger weights when we're setting up ride heights here in the car, in the shop. I would seriously suggest that you guys do that too when you're getting a spring kit or anything from us when you're setting ride heights, is you set the car up for what you're normally going to have in it. If it's you by yourself, set it up with you. If it's going to be you and passengers all the time, set it up for them. But remember, if you set the car up ride height wise for all of your passengers, when you're by yourself, it's going to ride high, which means it's going to ride stiff. It's possibly going to have more extension clunk because it's closer to being completely topped out. Keep that in mind when you're setting stuff up. This stuff needs to be adjusted. There's reasons why it's adjustable, and that's one reason right there. So, what else?
Rich Fortin, why don't manufacturers use cantilever suspension? Wouldn't it be possible to keep hood clearance?
It
Is
would be.
simply
Cantilever is very complicated and expensive, and the more parts you have in the front end, the more parts will break. So mostly the answer to your question is expense. None of the manufacturers are going to spend that kind of money on it.
YXZs are awesome, just saying. Dune YXZ, God, man, you got it right. Oh, that was awesome.
Wow.
Dune YXZ has some good questions on most of our videos. I got to tell you, he's pretty good about it. He's also a good sport because I've pointed out a few things and I've agreed with him on a few things. So it's all good. Thanks for signing in. What do you guys got?
Hey, I do have a question from Edison_AR-Ars09. What can I do to my Dynamics active suspension?
Tons. I mean, the Dynamics is badass in the fact how it works, how the computer tunes systems, and how it overall rides. But the dynamics computer and system does not care or know if the spring kit's perfect, if the valving is good or bad. It's just adjusting whatever is there. So if I was you, I would invest in a spring kit and I would look at doing internal shock work, both of which are going to make the car amazing, and that dynamics computer is going to adjust a perfectly working shock and spring system as opposed to adjusting one that's a little bit soft in the front and a little bit stiff in the back. So Steve, can you ask them if they needed help? They kind of walked in the wrong door.
Yeah.
See if you can find. Thanks, man.
Yep.
We just had some guys walk in the back of the studio. I think they came in through the new office instead of the other front door.
The sales office.
What are your thoughts on the RG Speed front diff mounted suspension?
Great.
Being that all mounts to the diff housing.
Great. It's been done many times and very successfully in modular systems like trophy trucks and some other stuff. Military does it. So really no negative there unless you broke the ear off one of the suspension mounts and have to buy a case. But I'm pretty sure he's building it strong enough to where the arm will probably fail before a mount is ripped off. So I think it's great.
All right.
This is new technology in UTVs that's been around for many, many years in trophy trucks where guys have unlimited budgets and do whatever works best. You're seeing some of that technology trickle down into that RG car, and I think that you guys should really appreciate it. He's doing a great job of it. I can't wait to see the car and drive the car.
We got a good one here. B-ski. Do you guys wear pasties when racing to prevent nip burn? And I would like to say, I'd start this party off with saying, this is a must. When I do Baja pre-run, and every time, my nipples, Steve, they just start to rub raw and hurt. It's the wind, it's the speed, it's the excitement, it's the adrenaline, and I like to tape them.
Why do you have your nipples out?
So what's actually funny, I'm going to take the question really serious because it actually is a problem. I've actually, I ran in the Baja 1000 7 years ago. I forgot to have, it was hot. And so I ran the race with a fire suit only instead of having a t-shirt and a fire suit. At the end of the race, my nipples were completely bloody.
Really?
Yeah. You can't control it.
Dang.
There's nothing you can do. It's just doing this the whole time. And that's the only thing sticking out. Thank God your pants aren't moving that much. Yeah, if you don't tape them, then you better wear something soft. You better double up. If you do a shirt and a suit, then it usually isn't a problem.
Mr. Sparkles, Vaseline, plus if you pull over, it's to multiple use.
I don't think he said that. I think that was Chase on that.
Chase hoping for
Mr. Sparkles did not say that. Just so everyone knows.
Do you guys have any other questions when it comes to shock mounting, geometry, spring rates, weights, lengths, all those good things? If you don't, then we'll digress and we'll actually talk about nipples and taping them in races.
Perfect.
Okay, great. We don't have any questions. Cool.
No, I got nothing.
Here.
Too much information Tuesday.
Yes, it is. TMI. Thank you, Chase. You're in charge of that one.
Diversified Fab. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Jason, can you sign in? If you don't sign in right now, then tell everybody what you would do to keep your nips from going bloody.
Hold on, I got him. I'm gonna fish him out here. I got him on the.
Oh, Chase is over here doing this.
Yep.
Oh, chicken
hand
wing
signals.
because you haven't signed in yet.
Hand signals. Don't worry.
Come on, Jason, sign in.
Diversified Fabulous.
He's probably taking all identifying information off of his shirt.
Probably.
Either that or you're gonna pop up with just two nipples.
Yeah,
That'd be cool too.
You could sign on just a nip.
That'd be cool too.
I don't know if
That'd
we're
be pretty
gonna
sweet.
get him here. I got my line
Some
out
googly
there.
eyes.
All right, well, he's not going to sign in. He probably knows better. If you guys don't have any more questions, then we're going to get out of here. All right, 3, 2, 1, gone. If you guys have any questions with regard to our parts, then please just give us a call. Talk to the guys up front. A lot of times I like to sit up front and answer the phone anyway. Hey, Jace, how's it going?
What's happening?
It's
Hey,
another
Jason.
day. Technical Tuesday. What are you doing right now?
Working.
Well, we'll leave exactly what you're doing for work out of it in case you get in trouble. Hey, so the question was, what do you do to stop your nipples from bleeding in a race?
And I got another question from you. What do you do to stay awake during a race?
Okay, 2 questions. Start with the nipples.
That takes some prepping, so maybe band-aids. I haven't really had that problem.
No? You don't have a sensitive nip?
He doesn't have the big pepperonis like you got, Justin.
So, Jace, do you always wear a shirt underneath the suit, or have you done suit by itself?
No, I do always wear a t-shirt.
All right, so I've never had a problem unless I ran no shirt, and that was the only time that I had one. And I won't do it again. I know that. That or I'm taping up pasties.
Justin, what are you doing in your race suit with no shirt on, you freak?
It was hot, dude. Seriously.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
Yeah. So second question: how do you stay awake when you race all night long in a 24-hour race? For instance, 2 years ago, Baja 1000, when you were forced to jump in the car with no notice and you ran all night.
That was a pretty tough one. It started with some energy drinks, usually a Bang, before, that was a struggle being a 5-minute notice, jump in the car, let's go, and run the night shift through the soap beds and dark. San Felipe, that was definitely a struggle the last hour before the sun came up on that one.
Running out of energy, trying to fall asleep. I have a story about you. I'm going to point this out. Actually, this is a Baja 1000 in an NA class 6 years ago. You were in the car. We had started at about 11 a.m. on Friday, and it was 5:30 a.m. on Saturday, and the sun is barely coming up. We were in a fast section with a lot of side walls like washed up. We're doing 50, 60 miles an hour, a lot of drifting, and you were calling out, 30 left and 40 right and 10 left and nothing. It just went silent. Any reason for that?
Yeah, well, I remember getting a fist to the chest, making sure I wasn't going to break my neck, because I was definitely doing some head bobbing over there. But we can attribute that to the awesome shock tune in the car to smooth ride.
Ooh, good segue.
I like it.
Translation, my brother was asleep while racing. So, yeah, it was pretty comfortable. I looked over to the right, and I could see his helmet was bouncing off his chest, and I thought he might hurt his neck. Wake up!
Jason, they just made those new things for kids in car seats. It's like a big rubber band. That way your head doesn't bob. I'm going to get you one for the race car. Don't worry.
I'll borrow yours.
Of course, I got multiple. Pink or purple.
Hey, Jace, thanks for signing in, man. Really appreciate it.
Later, Jason.
Have a good rest of the day.
All right,
See you,
later.
buddy.
We did have some people come up with excellent nipple solutions for us, boys. Raptor Killer 89. Bang Bong. Use it on cow udders. Get it at Walmart.
Oh my God. I'm surprised.
How big do you think our nipples are?
Yeah, how big are your nipples?
Jesus Christ.
Mine aren't that big.
Don't worry, boys. I'll pick some up. I'll get some Vaseline. I'll get some baby powder, and I'll start experimenting.
What's the line from the Fockers? Do you milk your cat?
Can you milk me? I got nipples. Can you milk me, Fokker?
All right, so you want some products? Great. Give us a call. If you guys want to buy some stuff, then go to our website, shoptherapist.com. We got everything on there for every make and model that you might want. Here's just a couple that are in here for today. These guys will leave here today and go out and rip it and love their car. So give us a call if you guys have questions. We will see you for Thursday. Throw it out there Thursday, and we'll see if we can't get Steve to show us some more dance moves. You guys have a good one.